Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating case file known as The Silence on Birchwood Lane. Now, we're going to step away from your typical action-heavy thrillers today. Instead, we're looking at an absolute masterclass in psychological tension. I'm going to walk you through the exact timeline, the key players, and all the subtle clues hidden in this story. Because we're exploring how a family's fragile illusion of safety can just shatter without a single pane of glass being broken. So dim the lights, and let's unravel this mystery together.
I need to report a missing person. It's been 3 days. I just remembered. Now, this is the actual 911 call that kicks off our broader discussion today. And what's really unsettling here is that the caller's voice is calm, like way too calm. It instantly creates this incredibly dark, almost cinematic noir vibe and sets a baseline of deep unease right out of the gate.
72. That is the number of hours in 3 days. I want you to let that sink in for a second. How does a person go a full 72 hours before even remembering that they have lost someone? What kind of psychological state leads to a blind spot that massive? This extreme example perfectly frames the mystery box we're opening today. Because while a 3-day blind spot is absolutely terrifying, we are about to see how even a 2-hour blind spot can permanently destroy a family.
Part 1. Number 14, Birchwood Lane. The illusion of suburban safety.
Okay, to really grasp the tension here, we first need to understand the environment. At 14 Birchwood Lane, we have this aggressively normal setting that completely masks the nightmare that's coming. Birchwood Lane is the kind of street where literally nothing is supposed to happen, right? It's defined by manicured lawns and identical mailboxes. We've got the Coletti family, Mark, Sarah, and their 7-year-old son Ben. And then there's Claire, the 19-year-old babysitter. And it's important to note, Claire isn't careless, she's highly reliable. She's watched Ben a dozen times before. It's an ordinary Friday evening in October. The parents are heading out for an anniversary dinner. It is a completely routine, totally safe setup.
Part 2, 11 p.m. An empty bed.
So Mark and Sarah get back from dinner, and the pacing of the story just deliberately slows down. The house is completely dark, the TV is glowing, but it's on mute, there's an untouched bowl of popcorn on the coffee table, and Claire, the reliable babysitter, is fast asleep on the couch. Sarah goes up to check on her 7-year-old son, being super careful not to wake him. But the bed is empty, and it wasn't ransacked or anything. The blankets were pulled tight, the pillow was entirely undisturbed. Panic instantly begins to set in. She searches the closets, she checks the bathrooms, she drops to her knees and looks under the bed, her heart just pounding faster and faster in the dead quiet of the house, but there is absolutely no sign of him.
By 12:30 a.m., after frantically checking every single room twice, Sarah practically shakes Claire awake. And Claire gives this groggy, absolutely blood-chilling response. "Ben? I thought he was with you." The tension in the narrative just comes to a dead halt right here. The one person tasked with guarding their child has absolutely no idea where he is and assumed he was with his parents the entire night.
So what we have is this massive, pitch-black window of time where a 7-year-old boy was simply gone, and the people meant to protect him were entirely oblivious. Ben goes to bed at 8:30 p.m. Claire claims she checked on him at 9 p.m. The parents don't roll in until 11 p.m., and the police aren't called until 12:30 a.m.
The police get there fast, led by this sharp-eyed veteran named Detective Reyes. Now, Claire is frantically insisting she was awake, she was watching TV, and she heard nothing at all. No doors, no windows. But Detective Reyes finds a pretty glaring contradiction to that claim. Ben's bedroom window, the one looking over the backyard, was open. It wasn't broken. It wasn't forced from the outside by an intruder. It was unlocked from the inside.
Detective Reyes asks to take a look at everyone's phones, and Claire's hesitation leads to a massive revelation. 43. That is the exact number of minutes she spent on a secret video call with her boyfriend, a call her employers knew nothing about, which started at exactly 9:05 p.m.
This revelation prompts Detective Reyes to ask a very gentle but honestly devastating question. When Claire supposedly checked on Ben at 9 p.m., right before her 43-minute video call, did she actually check on him? Like, did she physically step into the room?
You can imagine how Claire's face changes as she admits a terrifying reality. "I looked from the hallway. The door was open a crack. I saw him in bed. I didn't need to go in." She didn't actually see Ben. She saw a shadowed bed through a cracked door in a dark room. She saw what she expected to see, not what was actually there. And this brings us to the ultimate twist of the case file. Side A is Claire's story. Ben was safely asleep when she checked at 9 p.m. But side B is the undeniable truth caught by a hidden kitchen security camera that Claire didn't know about.
At 8:45 p.m., 20 minutes before her call even started, the camera caught 7-year-old Ben awake. He tiptoed down the stairs and walked right past the living room. Claire was sitting right there, staring down at her phone. He walked straight past her, and she never looked up.
Part 3, Into the Dark, A Walk in the Suburbs.
Here, the narrative focus shifts entirely, dropping those thriller expectations for a really grounded, heartbreaking reality. Ben wasn't taken. Ben left. The missing child wasn't snatched by a stranger in the night. Earlier that day, Ben had overheard Mark and Sarah arguing about money and work. He heard things a 7-year-old just shouldn't have to process. So he wasn't abducted. He was escaping a house that felt too overwhelming.
This was a child's sad, simple escape plan. He climbed out of the window his father had been meaning to fix. He walked 3 suburban streets alone in the pitch dark. He just wanted to find a place that was less loud. He knocked on his grandmother's door at 9:15 p.m. She let him in, made him hot chocolate, and assumed his parents knew exactly where he was. He fell asleep on her couch with one shoe still on. He was perfectly safe, and nobody at his house had a clue.
Part 4. The Lingering Fear. The Psychological Aftermath.
So Ben was found completely safe at 7 a.m. the next morning. There was no crime committed and no immediate physical danger. But the emotional gut punch and the psychological scars left on the family are permanent. For 2 hours, a 7-year-old boy was out in the dark alone, and not one adult in that house knew he was gone. Claire was never charged. She just made a human mistake, the kind any tired 19-year-old staring at a screen might make. But it completely shattered the Coletti family's fragile illusion of safety.
This became Sarah's new reality. The very next day, she installed a heavy lock on that window. But the trauma didn't stop at physical security. She developed a compulsive need to check on him every single hour, every single night. Even today, now that Ben is 12 years old, Sarah Coletti still walks into his room to make sure the bed isn't empty. She can't escape those 2 lost hours.
I want to leave you with this provocative thought as we wrap up our explainer. Is the scariest part of a story what actually happens or what almost did? Think about the invisible dangers within our own seemingly safe, quiet homes. Think about the blind spots we create when we look down at our screens instead of at the room around us. The silence on Birchwood Lane wasn't broken by an intruder, it was broken by distraction. Thanks for joining me for this one, and keep your eyes open.